Welcome. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at the Amcrest Smart Home Wi-Fi video doorbell. This was provided to me by Amcrest, but they're not compensating me for this video and they're not reviewing it before I post it. If you find this video helpful, I'll put a link to this on Amazon in the description, and if you use that link it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, so this says it's Wi-Fi enabled, full 1080p HD, two-way talk, motion alerts. It has two faceplates. It has a silver and a black. The model is AD110. So it says how it works: install the doorbell, download the app, connect to Wi-Fi, get alerts and notifications. So this has apps in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. It says connect to 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi and monitor your doorstep. So this doesn't support 5 gigahertz. 2.4 is probably a little better for this anyway because it has better penetration. You can go longer distances. 5 gigahertz tends to be faster, but this isn't likely to max out the 2.4 gigahertz connection by any means. So it says stream live videos in full 1080p HD and talk and listen to your visitors from your mobile device. Smart motion alerts: receive push notifications anytime motion is detected. Illuminating night vision: see in the dark with night vision distance up to 16 feet away. Super wide view: cover more ground with a super wide 140-degree viewing angle. And flexible storage: record videos to microSD 128 gigabyte or smart home cloud. The microSD card is not included. And here are the specs. Let's see if there's anything that hasn't been covered. It says 1 by 2.7 inch 2 megapixel CMOS. The waterproof rating is IP55. Working temperature is minus 22 degrees F to 122 degrees F. So in my area, the lowest, I don't know, I've seen it get down to is probably minus 17. Although that's the outdoor air temperature, and this will be connected to a house, so it'll probably get a little bit of warmth from the house. And the highest temperatures we might get are maybe 104 degrees Fahrenheit, but this will be in the full sun, so it could get up to 122. So it'll be interesting to see if it'll work at that temperature. I won't be able to test that now. It's the middle of winter right now, but if I have trouble with it in the summer, I'll probably make a video on that specifically. This connects to your existing doorbell wiring, so that's 16 volt to 24 volts AC. So some of these have batteries in them. This doesn't have a battery, so there's good and bad things about that. The battery ones you can mount anywhere. This one you can't mount anywhere. You have to have your doorbell wiring. One concern I have about the batteries though is I just mentioned earlier the working temperatures, and batteries aren't great in extreme temperatures, and my front door is southern facing, so it can get very hot, so it's probably not great to have a battery in that device. It'll weaken it, and then in the extreme cold you'll have trouble with the battery too. So there are pros and cons to each thing, but I didn't necessarily want a camera with a battery in it. But different people have different requirements, so if you need a battery, this is probably not the product for you. Dimensions are 4.7 inches by 2 inches by 1.1 inches. The weight is 0.66 pounds. What's included is the Wi-Fi video doorbell, installation tools, and the quick start guide. Okay, there's some protective foam there on the inside of the box lid. That's nice. We have instructions on installing your Chime Kit. So this comes with the Chime Kit. Let me pull this off here. This connects into your existing doorbell. If you don't use this, your doorbell could hum, so this is to prevent that. So there's instructions on installing that. It has instructions on installing the doorbell itself. So this is what it comes with. It comes with a Wi-Fi doorbell, two faceplates, mounting bracket, bracket screw, mounting screws, screwdriver, terminal screws, wire connector, wire nuts, wall anchors, wire extenders, 2 extra wires, and a masonry bit. So that's kind of nice if you have to install this in brick or stucco or something. So I'll go through that later. FCC compliance. This talks about updating the firmware. On this device and any other device, if the firmware is going to break something, it's best to upgrade the firmware right away. And if it breaks, you just don't use the device, you return it or whatever. But you don't want to update the firmware down the road and have it break something and then you've been using it or something. And I'm not saying firmware always breaks things, but occasionally things happen. This is the warranty, and this little card about the app. So here is the camera itself. So I've done videos on a bunch of other Amcrest devices, and I'll put a link in the description of those if you want to see those videos. So this has kind of a rubberized button here. There's a light ring around the button. This is plastic. It has a screw to hold it to the bracket. So it comes with a screwdriver. So the screwdriver is a little interesting. A lot of these are magnetic. This one actually has a collet on it. So I'll unscrew it, stick this in, and tighten it down. I've never seen one like that. It's kind of interesting. So you could have this shorter or longer depending on what you need. Now it just slipped on me. I pressed pretty hard. Okay, there we go. So it has terminals on the back for wiring this up. I put some tape over the QR code and such here. That's private, and you use that to pair it up. Oftentimes I have to edit that out in my video, and it's much easier to throw tape on it. So it looks like the faceplate can come off here. Let's see if I can pull that off. It says to set it down, stick your fingers on the sides and pull up. There we go. Okay, I put a little more magic security tape on there. So this can store to the cloud. You can subscribe to a cloud service. I think you get a year for free, or you can store it locally, or from what I understand, this can connect to security software. So I have two cards here that I would recommend. This is SanDisk High Endurance and Samsung Pro Endurance, and these are a high endurance card. These are good for security cameras and dash cams and things like that. I think the Samsung had a slightly higher write endurance on it, but they're both pretty good performance. So I'll put a link in the description to these also. So I need to check these out. I don't remember what I have on these, and I'll install one of these in here, but it will go in like so. There we go. It's spring loaded. Then it has the rubber that goes on top of it, like that. So if you install a card in here and this gets stolen, you're going to lose anything on that card. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, these aren't a armed security service, so yeah, they might deter people, or you might see someone, a porch bandit or something. But obviously they can be defeated. Pretty much any camera can be defeated if someone wears a full face mask. But these aren't all about theft. If you got a notification that your package arrived, you might go to the front door to get it, or you might have a neighbor pick it up or something like that. So there are lots of reasons to use cameras. So let's look through this box a little more. These are the anchors. There's 4 of them. They came with screws. In here we have some different screws. There's a Torx screw in here, and I think that goes in the bottom as a sort of security screw. You have this Torx bit. Oh, and it is a security Torx. So there's a little hole there, and that's because these aren't quite as common, and it would be harder for someone to open that. But you can order these, they're pretty easy to get. Then we have the spare faceplate. So I'll probably use this one because I have a lighter colored trim. If you have a darker trim, this one would probably work better. And here we have the masonry bit, and we have the lead wires. So there are 2 wires in here. I said 2, I meant 3. There's 2 pairs. So these can extend the leads, so you can put these on the back of the camera if your wires coming out of your wall are really short, so you can extend them with these. And this is for the Chime Kit. Okay, so that ends the unboxing portion of this. Now I'm going to read through the instructions. I'll get into installing it. Okay, I'm outside at my doorbell. The first thing I did was turn off power to the doorbell. So I didn't show that procedure because it's going to be different from everyone. But if you don't feel comfortable with electricity, you might find a friend or someone that can help you, or even hire a professional if needed. So on the back of here, I have 2 screw terminals. I'll loosen these up. Now I'll get the bracket for the new doorbell and I'll position it over the wires, and I'll kind of gauge where I want to put it. I do have this small level here that I can use to make sure it's plumb. So I'll put the faceplate where I think it's supposed to be, then I'll put the level on top, and I'll tilt it until the bubble is centered. Now I will mark the screw holes with a pencil. If you don't have a level, your phone might have a level app on it that you could use. Although a level might be a little more accurate, it's hard to say. You could also hold the plate up here and measure to the side of the trim, because the trim likely is plumb already. Now I'm going to drill these. I have a 5/64 drill bit. Other sizes would probably work. This seemed good for me. I'll have to move the camera out of the way so I have clearance for my drill. I'm kind of close to this. Now I'll mount the plate with this tab down. I'm using these screws that came in the package and the screwdriver. If you have trouble putting the screws in, you could take a little bit of bar soap, or even liquid hand soap would probably work too, and put just a tiny bit on the threads, and it'll lubricate them and make it easier to thread them in. Okay, I got those screws in. I ended up switching to a larger screwdriver just because it's easier to fit my hand. You could do it with this, but if you have a better screwdriver, might as well use it. Okay, so I have brick right here. When I put this on, that may show up in the camera, so I could potentially move it this way a little bit. Another option would be to put a block behind it. You could use wood, but I think I have some PVC trim, so I could block that out so it brings it towards the edge of the brick closer. But what I'm going to do is just try it out, see how it works. It may be fine, and if it isn't, I'll just change it later. It's not too hard to change. I'm also going to keep the old doorbell in case this ever gets broken, stolen, I switch it out, move. I may want to put the old doorbell back on, so I'll just throw it in a baggie and throw it in some parts, and then later, if I need it, it's there. So now I need to connect these wires to the terminals on the back of the camera, and you just unscrew these. I have enough clearance to put these on, but it may be hard to show on the camera, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap these around here. I'll take my pliers to kind of make little loops, and then I'll tighten them down. Okay, that's completed. Well, that wasn't too difficult. If there's any challenge, it's because it's really cold out. It's around freezing temperature right now as I put this on. So now I'm going to take my masking tape off. I'll hook it on the little hook on the top, and then I'll put the security screw through the bottom into the bottom of the doorbell. That'll hold it in place. I did install the Samsung 128GB Pro Endurance microSD card in there. I've switched the screwdriver over to the security Torx, and I actually put the screw in here already so I wouldn't lose it. I'm going to try going handheld with this. So now I'll take off the plastic protective tape. I'll take off my QR code tape. I took a picture of that so I won't have to come back out here. And now I'll put the cover on. There we go. So it looks like this does shift back side to side, which I don't think is going to be an issue. You could potentially level it just slightly with that. So now I need to put the unit in the doorbell inside and then turn the power back on and connect it to the app. Okay, so I'm at the doorbell and I installed the Chime Kit and I just zip tied it on instead of sticking it on in case I ever replace this someday. If this doesn't work, I can always take the zip tie off and stick it on. And then I have the wires going down here to these spring terminals, and I have one on the trans and one on the F, which is for front door. I just shoved the spring terminal in there. So I might clean this up with some shorter wires someday. It looks like you can use a little Phillips screwdriver on these terminals, and I could just run real short wires down to here. But for now, this will work. Okay, so I'm on my iPad, and I need to download the Amcrest Smart Home app, so I'll hit Get. Okay, that's finished downloading. I'll hit Open. It says allow smart home to use your location. I'll say allow while using app right now. It says it wants to send me notifications. I'll allow it. I'll probably end up setting this up on my phone, but I'm setting it up on my iPad now because it's easier to record this screen. So it wants me to log in. So you can hit register and create an account. I think I already have an account, so I'm going to try it. That didn't work, so I will register an account. Hit next. Okay, so I'm going to skip through these so I don't have to blur all this out. That's kind of a pain, but it's pretty straightforward. Okay, I created an account. It says this app requires local network permissions, so I'll say OK. I'll click on Add Device. It says the smart home app would like to access the camera. I'll hit OK. So now I'm going to scan the QR code from the camera. Okay, so now it says enable doorbell hotspot. It says we must first enable your doorbell hotspot to continue. Remove the doorbell faceplate, locate and press the reset button. You'll hear a voice indicating that the hotspot is enabled. Once you've enabled the hotspot, tap next. So one problem I may have right now is that I'm not near the doorbell. I'm in the area where I normally record my videos. So I'm going to try to move closer and see if I can connect up to this thing. So the way mine is set up here with the brick here, it's kind of hard to press the button here and it was kind of hard to get this off. So I probably shouldn't have put this on until I had it all synced up. Now I can stick a pen or something in there to press the button. It's not going to be a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to press the button.
Wi-Fi hotspot is enabled.
I'll hit next. It says have you enabled the hotspot? I'll hit yes. It's asking me if I want to join the Wi-Fi network on the device. I'll hit join. It's asking me to set a device password, so I'll enter that in. So I set a really weak password. I'll go in and change this later. I would highly recommend setting a strong password. It's asking me what Wi-Fi I want to connect to, so I'll choose my Wi-Fi network. I'll enter the password. I'll check save password. I'll hit connect. It says wait until the LED indicator turns solid blue, then tap next. This may take up to a minute. If the LED indicator is still spinning or the device is reporting Wi-Fi password is incorrect, please start over.
Connected to network.
And that sounds good to me. So I'll hit next. It says adding device to your Amcrest account. So I can name this. It gives suggestions. I'll say front door. I'll hit save. So it's asking the chime type, and I have a mechanical chime. Digital barely existed when this was probably made. So I'll hit next. It's asking my time zone. I'll hit next. It says successful connection. I'll hit start live view. It says a new firmware version is available. I'm going to say no thanks for now. And here we have the live view. So you can see this brick is kind of in the way. I'll do some tests later and see if that's a big hindrance or not, because it doesn't really block a whole lot actually. So as you can see all the snow, it's winter out, it's really cold. So I'm going to head inside and continue from there. First I'll put the faceplate back on. Okay, so I'm back inside now where it's warmer. So I see there's a little dot up next to the gear, so I'll hit that. I don't see the notification here, but I'll hit firmware update. It says this version does not support cloud updating, so that's a little confusing. I'm guessing it will try to update later. So I'll try and record something here. There's not really anything going on outside, but see how it works. So if I hit microSD card, it doesn't look like it's on there yet. I may need to set some things up, or maybe it was. Not sure where I'm at. Oh, I backed out of this now. Okay. Okay, so it says format storage device. It's not properly recognized, so I'll hit yes. And I did format this, but... Okay, so now it's formatting. It says format failed. Okay, so that's another challenge I'm seeing because I have to take the whole thing off to replace that card. It's not super difficult to do except for the fact that I have that brick there, makes it kind of hard to deal with. So I'll undo the screw from the bottom, I'll pull it apart, get the card out, I'll test it out, get it working, then I'll put it all back together. So I'm going to go back a page and we have the firmware update again. So I'll hit update. It looks like the difference here is the one says AC003 and this one says AC006. So hit update here and I'll let that update. And needless to say, you don't want to unpower it, turn off the breaker or anything while you're doing this. Okay, it says successfully updated. Current version is the latest. So I'll hit back here. Okay, it says play error, click to refresh. Okay, it says format storage device. Let's try this again. Maybe a firmware update changed it. Okay, it says the format failed again. So I'll play with that later. Okay, the image is up. It might have been resetting something. Let's click on quality, see what we're on. That's interesting. Now it says there's another firmware update. That's interesting. So it doesn't seem to have done the firmware upgrade. Like maybe it fell back to the old version. So let's hit quality again. So we have two resolutions. We have SD and HD. I'm going to switch the orientation here. This is standard resolution. So I have trees there in the background. You can see the detail on them. I'll switch to HD. And they're a little bit sharper. Okay, so I'm going to stop for now. I'll try and figure out that memory card issue, and I'll meet back up after I've tested this for a couple days. Okay, so I've been using this for a while now. And first I just want to update on a couple things I had issues with. The firmware eventually updated itself. I don't know exactly what was going on with that, but it is up to date now. It gets a little confusing when you're trying to record a first impression of something and then the firmware update comes up. And I'm not criticizing it, it should come up right away. It's just I didn't want to have to wait through that. But it did eventually update itself. So if you're using one of these and that comes up, just update it right away. Go take a break, come back when it's done. The other issue was the SD card. So I took the SD card out and I checked the format on it, and I had formatted it before I stuck it in, and I formatted it as exFAT. I unknowingly did. I just formatted it and that's what it came out as. So I reformatted it as FAT and then it worked. I will say it would be nice if this could have reformatted it on its own. I mean, it has a format function in there, but it failed because it wasn't able to write over the exFAT format of the microSD card. So you may have noticed on the screen here it looks different. So I had some issues here. When I first set this up, you saw the brick on the left side. So I've since put a piece of PVC behind it to bring it out a little ways. The problem I was having, I don't mind seeing the brick. It's not a big deal. I had a good enough view to see what I wanted to see. But at night, the infrared that comes off of the camera that's supposed to illuminate things was illuminating that brick, and it was messing up the exposure. So it had zero night vision. I mean, just nothing. You could see a real clear view of that brick, but you couldn't see a person if it was 6 inches away. It was really bad. So I brought that out, and now it's not reflecting off that side brick, and the exposure's right, and it has better night vision now. So I created a spacer. Amcrest does sell some spacers. They have a wedge that can point it up or down, and they have another spacer that can space it side to side. And I put some images here on the screen so you can see what those look like, and I'll put links below to those too if you're interested in those. So if you do need to position it a little different, you could use some of those. And that's not uncommon if you have siding to need to maybe get the wedge to tilt it out. So in my case, I could have used the one that would have angled it, and I could have angled it away from the bricks, and that would have worked well too. But I had some of this PVC trim. It's like a board I put on there, and I put a picture of that up on the screen too. So that fixed that problem. So what I would recommend is if you format the card ahead of time, make sure you use FAT32, not exFAT, and I would put the card in. I wouldn't put the faceplate on, and I would try and get it all paired up in case you have to take that microSD card out, or you have to press the button on the side or something. I would keep it all open so you can do that. And then when you have it working, put everything on there. So I had that brick on the left side. Other people have a doorbell that's in a corner. So you have a wall that's adjacent to the doorbell. And then it's the same situation. I would get that angled plate in there and angle it away from the wall so it's not reflecting that light off the wall. You could try it first. There's no reason not to try it first. But if you have that issue, then get that wedge to put behind it and tilt it away from the wall, and that should solve your problem. So I previously had this on my iPad, and I've since moved it onto my phone, and that brings up another issue is you can only easily use this on one device at a time. So when I log in on my phone, it logs me out on my iPad. I think I can create multiple accounts and maybe share it between the two. I haven't messed with that yet. So I am going to have my Amcrest playlist below, and I plan on making future videos with this. I'll probably do it pretty soon here. And that's one of the things I want to test is getting this running on multiple devices. So when there's motion on here, it does alert me. So every time a car drives by or a person comes up to the door, it brings up a notification. If someone calls, it also comes up on my phone. So unfortunately, I'm not going to demonstrate that in this video. And there's FedEx. I wonder if they're delivering to me. Nope. Unfortunately, I'm not going to demonstrate that in this video. The weather's kind of bad outside today, so it's not ideal to do that, but I'll hopefully have that up shortly, that demonstration. So it has been recording to the microSD card. So I'll tap on the screen. I actually have to tilt this, I think, or can I go back? Yeah, okay, I have to tilt the screen, so I'll tilt that in my video editor. So on the bottom here, you see Live View, Cloud Recordings, and microSD card. So I'll click on microSD card. And, well, here's some night vision. This is at 6:16 in the morning, so there's a car coming by. So this isn't a great representation of the night vision because I have a second camera up near my doorway that has an infrared light on it. So this is maybe a little brighter. It's not actually that much brighter. If you look in the very upper right of the video here, you can see it's kind of shiny, and that's the light shining off the soffit. But it does illuminate it a little bit better. But otherwise, it's pretty accurate. Now, with all of the snow outside, it reflects everything. So this is a pretty bright scene. And I can't make the snow go away to do an example of a dark scene. So, maybe even months from now, when it's really dark out, maybe when there's not a full moon or anything, I'll try and get a good sample of it in the absolute pitch black. And we'll see what that looks like. Oops, so I got out of there. I'll go back to my micro SD card. So you can go to the different dates here. And it has the videos at the bottom. And you can get a lot of videos here. Let's see what this has. Is this a listing? So it looks like this is a listing of the videos. One thing I would really like for this to have would be a favorite. So say I'm watching this, look at 3:31 in the morning. I wonder if that's a car going by. Sometimes I've had some deer go by. It'd be nice if I maybe had a person coming up to the door and I saw him on the camera and I wanted to remember that. It'd be nice if there was a little favorite feature here where I could hit a little thing, it would star it, and then I could have a favorite list so I could come back to it and reference it later. So you can save this out to your phone, but sometimes you just want to mark it so you can deal with it later. If you're out and about and you have a notification come up and there's something you want to check into later, like maybe someone's coming up to your door with a clipboard and you want to see if they're like a salesperson or maybe they're scoping the property out, then it'd be nice if you could star that and then have it in your favorites and you could look at it later. So that's a feature I would really like to see in this app. Some of the things I'll cover in future videos is motion detection and removing a section of the video for motion detection. So I have cars drive by and I don't necessarily want to track that. So you can go into the settings here, if I can find the right spot. Let's see if it's the gear, motion detection zones. And you can draw in the zone here. So you can clear the zone and then, well, I can show a little bit of it here. Unfortunately, you can't remove from the zone. It would be nice if you could remove. So I have the whole zone here. I actually have to clear the whole zone and then fill it in. And it's a little tricky to do on my iPhone screen. So I may pull this up on my iPad and set it up there, and it will save it on the device. And then I'll be good to go. But it's kind of hard to see on this little screen. But I found it kind of difficult. It'd be nice if I could have the whole thing selected and then just remove parts. Usually when I want to do something like this, actually I want to record everything, but there might be a wind chime that moves or something like that. And I just want to take out those tiny little sections or a car driving by. It'd be nice if it had that feature on there. So I'll just save that zone out. So you can go in here and remove things. So if it's blue, it's recording it. If it's not, then it's going to ignore it. You can also modify the motion range. So that you usually want to play with and see what works best for you. Try different settings out. So I'm going to insert some videos here that I pulled from the phone so you can see them kind of in the native resolution. Okay, so those were the samples. So my thoughts on this, so far, I'm very happy with it. There were a few problems when I was setting it up, but those got remedied. It's working well now. It's been working great. The motion detection seems to be working well. It doesn't seem to be missing anything. I like that it doesn't have a battery. I don't need a battery and I don't want a battery. You know, batteries can go bad. You have to charge them. I know sometimes people need those devices. If you don't need one, it's nice not having one. It's just an extra thing in there to deal with. The mounting of it wasn't too difficult. I had a couple problems because of that brick next to where I mounted it, but once I put a spacer block in there, it worked better. The angle block would have worked well too. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. Again, if you have any suggestions or questions, please leave those in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.